Hi, welcome back to episode 7. I'm here with Eve, and I think we're going to do a little recap.
Hello, everybody. Well, before we start the recap, I just wanted to encourage our audience to basically follow our former episodes in the chronological order. I mean, it would make so much sense, and it would also explain a lot of things.
Right.
Actually, it's kind of interesting because during this episode number 7, we're going to talk about certain things that we expressed and explained during the Immaculate Conception episode.
Oh, okay.
So it makes a lot of sense to just follow them, in the chronological order.
Right.
Yeah. And again, we have more and more. Our story is going to be having a little bit of a clash, some discrepancies with the official scripture of the Bible, right? And so we have to remind the audience that what we are looking at is the Akashic Memories, and those are perceived through the eyes and the senses of Yeshua.
Right.
Okay? There is also, again, I have to, this is kind of a disclaimer, but I want to say that there is nothing religious about what we are presenting. Okay, we are agnostic. There is no influence or no tendency toward any religions. And I think it's very important because more and more we're going to get into the thoughts and the impressions and the feelings of Yeshua. As he is growing older, he's going to be expressing and saying a lot more stuff. Okay?
Well, why do you think it's important to have this perspective?
Well, I think it's important because his personal perspective are actually not matching what the Bible is telling us.
A lot of things that don't match, but okay.
Yeah. So
we'll just hand that up there.
in episode number 6, we had Yeshua was back from the School of Mysteries, the Carmel schools, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
He spent the 6 years there from the age of 7 to the age of 13. And his uncle Yusuf and his father Yusuf came to pick him up. So on the way back from the Carmel school, Yeshua does not know anymore his parents, and especially his father. Although his father has been very instrumental in the past about teaching him and taking him to different places, I mean, we saw that in the previous episodes. When they went to Egypt, they went inside Mount Tabor. I mean, he has been extremely instrumental in the awakening and the opening of Yeshua, But at that point, I guess because he's an adolescent now, 13-year-old, sometimes this is the time where...
Might be a typical 13-year-old.
Yeah, you have some kind of, imbalance or little...
Right. Well, testosterone. I mean, he's still a human being.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He's still a human being, yeah. So, and Yeshua also realized that, he would like to be more tender with his father, but for some reason the father is very stern and very, very cold, and he realized that tenderness, especially in the Jewish tradition, is absolutely not accepted between men.
Oh.
You cannot show any feelings of love or tenderness or, deep friendship. This is not welcome.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah.
I don't think it's that way today, though.
hopefully it is not.
Yeah.
But that's what he's seeing very much, yeah. So on the other hand, Yeshua develops a very nice complicity with his uncle.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, it could be that.
Is this Yosef of Arimathea?
Yes. This
Okay.
is Yusuf of Arimathea.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the one. And they finally arrive at the village, and Yeshua again is included, into his family. He meets young brother Judas, who doesn't have any recollection of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
He was
kind of
really little when he left. Yeah.
And he realized that he has now a sister, Sarah.
Okay.
So Sarah is basically the third child of Miriam.
Wow.
Yeah. So
She has a lot of kids.
yeah. So he has
A lot
now
of kids.
a young brother and a young sister.
Plus his half-brothers too.
Plus the
Yeah.
4 half-brothers
I mean,
and the half-sister.
Which are all adults now, but yeah.
Which are much more, much older, yeah. And so, and he discovers his mother Miriam, and he sees her as a noble and proud woman. and is very happy. He enjoys listening to her voice, you know, the voice of a female. Because let's go back and realize that for the past 6 years, he has been in a fortress, the School of Mystery, right?
Yeah, that's
With
true.
absolutely no female presences. Zero. Yeah. So,
I guess only males went through these mystery schools.
yes, only males went through this.
They must have a female mystery
They
school.
probably have a female one, but this is not described, you know.
Well, he
because-
wouldn't know that.
Yeah,
Right.
we are going through the life of Yeshua, a
Right.
male guy. Yeah, so,
Mm-hmm.
so he's enjoying immensely, you know, being with his mother. And again, adolescent, it's more of an attraction to the opposite sex, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is more typical. So in the village, they organize a big celebration for his return, you know, and the old Zera, I don't know if you guys remember, but he was the head of the Essenian fraternity in the small village.
Okay.
He's now deceased, and he has been replaced by an old man called Joab. So Joab is now in charge of the Essenian fraternity in that part of the Galilee. And he's also very disappointed because his old friends, Simon, Miriam, Bethseba, and others are all helping in other villages, so he doesn't see them.
Oh,
So he feels very lonely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant return, you know. He's not really enjoying the celebration. I mean, he's pretending, but inside himself, too many things have changed. You
Right.
know, he's really different from what he was when he
Right.
left 6 years ago. You
Of
know,
course, yeah.
I mean, it's a massive change. You
6
know,
years is huge between 6 and 13 or
Yes.
6 and 12. I mean,
I mean,
it's-
think about, you know, the transformation of his physical body,
yeah.
his mind, all the teaching he received, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people in the village probably didn't grow at the same pace as he did, right?
Right.
So he feels like, okay, what am I doing here?
Yeah. What dimension did I end up
Yeah,
in?
and what
Yeah.
makes it the worst is, you know, his old brother, I mean, his young brother Judas doesn't even recognize him anymore, you know, doesn't want to do anything with him. So.
Oh, that's
It's kind of a sad and
Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah. So a week later, and this is the theme of that episode number 7, is basically the revelations. So there is Yusuf, the father, Uncle Yusuf, Miriam, and Yeshua goes to a field a little bit away from the village. Apparently, what they have to say cannot be said in the village.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, so it's very, very serious. Everybody is very stern, very serious, you know, and Yeshua is a little bit puzzled by this attitude, right?
Right.
And he's wondering, why is that, you know? And he sees his father being extremely embarrassed, you know, to the point where the father cannot even speak.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Yusuf cannot even speak, you know.
Okay.
And
Wonder what's happening.
it is Uncle Yusuf who is taking the lead and explaining to Yeshua what happened.
Okay.
Something happened.
Oh gosh.
Something horrific
What
in the
happened?
Jewish tradition.
Okay. Somebody went out of line.
Yes.
We're in trouble now. Okay, what happened?
So we have seen that during the Immaculate Conception, but I'm going to summarize it, you know. I think for our audience it's important. So this is all regarding the Annunciation, right? And the fact that Miriam had to be conceiving a physical body before she was married.
Okay.
This is the whole story.
Oh, we're still on that?
We're still on that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I
People
mean,
just don't know how to let things go, huh?
they can't. They can't because, you know, the mentality and the traditions are so deeply rooted
Yeah.
that they cannot. And especially Yusuf, who is, you know, very smart. Yusuf, the father, is very smart. I mean, he's like a counselor for a lot of people, but for somehow he's stuck in this paradigm, you know, in this, and he cannot get out of it. And this is why he cannot even talk about it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I just wanted to, so they are trying to explain to Yeshua what happened exactly, and I will summarize that. And Yeshua is holding the hands of his mother, And he's telling Miriam, his mother, you know, mother, I know all of this. I don't know how, but I know everything you're going to tell me.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he is getting some kind
He's
of
getting, yeah.
premonition or...
Again, you know, with the Annunciation, in the Bible they call about the Holy Spirit, but let's say some angelic forces came and placed inside the auric field of Miriam the atom germ, or the seed atom,
Right.
basically, of the memory of Yeshua. And because that the lifespan of that principle is limited, it has to be finalized by a physical union. Okay?
Right.
And because their wedding was supposed to be months and months later, they had to make love. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yes, because
Okay.
Miriam had the symptoms of a pregnant woman, but was still not capable of conceiving and developing the physical body.
And the whole importance of the planet alignments and all that
Yes,
played
exactly.
into that.
So again, you know, for more details, I will invite the audience to go back to the Immaculate Conception section. Yeah, and so because of the need for the procreation and not being married, it was said in the village and around, you know, in the countryside, that Miriam was impure.
Oh, jeez.
Impure, yeah. And so, upon hearing those words, Yeshua turns to his father and said, and did you believe that she was impure? I love that. And of course, you know, Yosef cannot say yes.
Right,
He
right.
has to say no, she was not impure. And then at that point, you know, Miriam takes the lead, and she explained that they had to make love so that the body of Yeshua could be created, you know,
Right at
through
that time.
the normal
Yeah.
physical union, right? And by doing that, they both became impure.
Oh. So he's just as impure as she is.
Yes,
Oh,
they are
okay,
both
well,
extremely
finally it's
impure.
like-
Yeah. So
At least the
Yeshua,
man's involved in this one.
Yeshua, you know,
Okay.
13-year-old, says to both of his parents, he says, impurity, where did you see that? Right?
Yeah.
Is love ever impure? True love is always pure. Awun, God, has nothing to do with the laws invented by the humans. Yeah. So I guess he's really debunking, you know, those horrible and so frozen traditions, you know, that are basically plaguing
Yeah.
those people.
This is why he had to come back.
Yeah,
He had to
that's
change
why
some
he
things.
had to change so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at one point, you know, the conversation is so heated that Yusuf, the father, is leaving the group. He's obviously embarrassed by all this, and he's not capable of handling what his son, Yeshua, is saying.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I think it's important to realize, you know, how diminishing and how imprisoning, you know, and how restricting all those religious laws are on
Right.
the human beings, right?
Yeah, because the Catholic religion is the same way.
Yeah, it's the same
They're
way.
not as bad as they were, but they'll ask
Right.
you, have you fornicated?
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's like, none of your business. But, you know, it's
You
so...
have- you
and
have
you
to-
have, you can get married in the church.
And it's the same with the Islamic religion too, where you have to come, you know,
Right.
absolutely virgin to your
The
wedding. Yeah.
woman has to
The
come.
wedding, yeah.
The
And the
woman.
man is another guy. It's
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah.
So Yeshua realized that the mind and the flesh are continually fighting. In those religions, in those traditions, you know, there is the mind, the scripture, what you believe, how you should be behaving, and then you have the body and the flesh. And those two are always fighting because they do not go together.
Right.
And he's trying to change that, you know. And so the Uncle Yusuf and Jeshua have a deep conversation about that. And Yeshua concludes that the flesh, the body, is there to express the ecstasy, the union, and the fusion to tell the unity that God creates. That's his point of view. So I think it's important to realize that he's 13-year-old coming with those brilliant idea and, you know, changing
Words of
paradigms,
wisdom.
you know,
Right.
and basically revolutionizing and sweeping away all these traditions.
Too bad his father missed that.
Yeah. So everybody's surprised actually and kind of shocked by what Yeshua is saying. So this is I wanted to comment on that end of the story, you know, for what they call the revelations. Basically, the revelation to Yeshua about what happened.
Okay.
Yeah. And why, you know,
Were they afraid that people were going to say stuff to him in the village?
People have always been saying things.
Okay.
You remember there was always a few
I would
group
just
of
love
women.
to be a fly on the wall with somebody coming up to him and saying something. He would really put him in their... Okay, I'll let you finish.
All right.
Yep.
So, 2 weeks later, our young Yeshua and his family, Father Yusuf and Mother Miriam, and Uncle Yusuf also, are traveling to Jerusalem for the first time
Okay.
to meet the doctors of the law. The doctors of the law, yeah. And this is for the tradition which is called the Bar Mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
Right. And this is close to
Okay.
Easter. It's right before
Doctors
Easter.
of the law. Okay.
That's how they call themselves, yeah.
Okay.
The doctors of the law.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they are the expert, the specialist.
Mm.
Yeah. And so most of the people in the Essenian fraternity are not celebrating or doing that consecration, you know. They're not following that. But Yusuf and Miriam decides to do it for Yeshua because they don't want to draw attention to him. They want him to blend with the rest
in.
of the Jewish people, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of...
And because, you know...
Never would have expected that to happen.
No,
Yeah.
they would not. And because, you know, Yusuf is also, the father Yusuf is also a very respected person. He's a counselor. So he has also to, and he's probably very religious in a way. And he has to, you know, to keep the appearances, everything, you know, fine.
Right.
And let's not rock the boat, you know,
Right.
as much as possible. And so during that trip, and when they arrived to the temple in Jerusalem, which is the old temple, I don't know exactly, I think it has been destroyed by the Romans, like in 80, after the death of Yeshua. You know, I mean, close to the end of the first century, it has been destroyed. But it has been rebuilt since then. So Uncle Yusuf gives a ring to Yeshua. And he's, you know, he tells him, okay, I know you've basically made a promise to not wear any jewels, you know, while you are in the school of mysteries in the Karmel school, but I still give you that ring, and keep it in your bag. You know, it may serve one day.
They describe the ring at all?
No, he's not saying anything yet. So I'm going to make a parenthesis and show some of the fallacies and the stories of the Bible, okay? Because I think this is a good example. So in the Bible it says in Luke 2-40-50, Luke tells a story that basically the parents of Yeshua started walking back from Jerusalem back to their village and forgot about Yeshua. Yeah. And then midway they realized, oh, we forgot our son, so we have to go back. And when they come back to the temple, they see Yeshua surrounded by a bunch of people, and he's teaching them the scriptures and telling them all the good stuff about the Jewish religion and so forth. So this is completely bogus, and you will see this is not the way it happened. I wanted to point to the fact that Luke was a disciple of Paul, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Decades later, okay, we know that Paul never met in the flesh Yeshua, never talked to him, never met him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and Luke, who was a disciple of Paul, was probably not even alive when
Wasn't
Yeshua
born
was
yet.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's all important to put that into perspective. So I
Right.
know people like their story, you know, it's like fairy tales, you know. I mean, we are used to that, you know. It's like
But you know,
bedtime
fairy
stories.
tales never change, but it seems like the Bible changed a lot.
Yeah, Well, possibly, but there are so many fallacies,
Interpretations.
so many interpretations.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So today we're going to try to tell you the story according to the Akashic Memories, okay? So you're welcome to believe whatever you want. I mean,
Right.
It doesn't make any difference.
Right.
Yeah. So when Yeshua arrives in front of the temple, there are basically 10 boys, he and 9 other boys, and they are facing three doctors of the law. And those doctors are basically asking them questions and asking them to read some parts of the Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a traditional, and I think it's still being done like that nowadays,
I think
right?
so. I don't know, but
They come with a big book.
I'm sure.
And so the first thing that Yeshua realized is that the richness and the opulence of the temple. He's really shocked by all the gold, he said that the three doctors of the law are sitting on a chair which is actually encrusted, carved in precious wood. It has ivory and gold ornaments. Serious stuff, right? Probably very expensive.
Do you think he'd have the reaction if he went into the Vatican?
Oh yeah, it's even worse. Yeah, the Vatican is even worse. Yeah.
What they say, it's 5 miles long of gold.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the interesting stuff, and again, this is from the Akashic Memories, that Yeshua is disturbed by the incense and the smoke coming out of those big bowls.
big urns.
Yeah, the big urns. He said he can barely breathe.
Boy, it must have been very smoky.
Very smoky, very thick. Yeah. And the other stuff that disturbs him are the tefillins. So the tefillins, for the people who are not familiar with, are 2 little black boxes. So you put one on top of your skull here, and another one on your arm.
Okay, how big is this box?
Those boxes are like maybe a couple of cigarette packs,
Okay. And it's attached to his
yeah,
head?
it's attached with the straps around your head.
Okay, and then
one around on
same thing.
Yeah. So that is, and inside the box there are 4 excerpts of the Torah.
Oh, okay.
So
Like little scrolls are in there.
Yeah, secret verses or whatever,
Okay.
So, and again, Yeshua has never been confronted to this kind of artifacts,
Right.
whatever you want to call that.
Tradition. He wasn't familiar with that kind of tradition.
And this is actually disturbing him a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, when his turn comes, he reads the Torah and he answers the questions to all the rabbis, and absolutely no problems. And he finds even the question of the rabbis quite shallow, not very deep. Obviously,
Did he
13-year-old
teach them a couple of things
not
himself?
yet.
Okay,
No, he doesn't do that. It's contrary to what the Bible tells.
Right.
He's not doing that. He's just doing his reading and answering the question as he was told, as he was asked. But he realized that the questions are not very deep. Yeah. And he said also that a lot of the other kids could barely do it, because most of the kids were coming from small villages, and of course they had not received the kind of education that Yeshua received.
Right.
They didn't spend 6 years in the top school of mysteries existing in Judea and Galilee at that time. So
it's too bad we don't know what he was being taught there. It's kind of nice.
So, well, we talked about that in the previous episode. Not in great details.
Didn't give you great detail on that.
So, something else that Yeshua is wondering also is, with all this richness and wealth and displays of opulence, where is God? He doesn't find God in any of this theatrical setting.
Right.
For him, it's just a show off, And you realize that the temple is actually a trap. With all the ornaments, the sculptures, the gold angels and everything. And he finds absolutely no traces of the divine. He understands that, people who are coming from the countryside or even from the city of Jerusalem, seeing the temple for the first time, are probably in awe, and realize, oh yes, this is absolutely divine. Right. Because it's so far from what they normally live in.
Right, has to be from God.
Yes, it has to be from God. But for Yeshua, there is absolutely no traces of the divine. And another stuff which is also very surprising for him, But again, keep in mind, 13-year-old, this is his first time in Jerusalem.
Right.
All around the temple, there is some kind of market. And people are selling spices, food, and they are slaughtering animals.
Oh.
So they have sheep, goats being slaughtered, and Yeshua is disturbed by the stench of the blood and all this stuff, with the heat. You can imagine how stinky that stuff must be. And again, he's shocked by the cohabitation, in such close proximity between very barbaric acts,
Right.
and the so-called divine of the temple. Yeah, there's something wrong with that. Yeah. So again, the stench is not very conducive to being in contact with God. Yeah. So I know. I mean, I'm probably painting a very.
No, you're not, because if
No.
you read the Old Testament, it's worse than that.
Oh, that's what it is.
It's worse than
Oh,
that.
it's worse than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We won't get into that. Yeah.
No.
But again, this
It's
is.
bloodier.
Yeah, this is what we see through the eyes of Yeshua, right? Okay. At one point, after, so the ceremony of the Bar Mitzvah is over. It was very quick, didn't last very long, again, contrary to the Bible. And the parents introduce Yeshua to an old man. So apparently they meet a very old friend. And this friend is called Yosh Heram. So Yosh Heram is an old friend. He is going to be instrumental and pivotal during many years with Yeshua.
Oh.
And we're going to talk a lot about him.
Okay.
Okay? And Yosh was actually in Egypt, in the temple of Niten Tor, the temple of Dendera, when Yeshua when it was discovered and he was an avatar.
Oh, okay.
So Yosh was part of the group
Okay.
that recognized him as an avatar.
Okay.
So he knows them very well. And something a little bit delicate happens when Yosh sees Yeshua again, after 13 years, basically, because he saw him at 1 year old.
He was
right?
a little.
Yeah, so 12 years later, he sees a well-developed young man. He gets on his knees and he prosternates in front of Yeshua.
Oh.
And he touches his feet. And at that point, Yeshua realized that this cannot go on, because he's asking Yosh to stand up, stop what he's doing, because they're on the main square in front of the temple,
Right.
and everybody's looking at them. And the people are seeing that old man prosternating and touching the feet of a kid,
Right.
and they don't understand. And at one point, so Yeshua is telling Yosh, please, stand up, stop that. At one point, a soldier
Could be dangerous.
comes who was protecting the temple,
I'm
making
just
sure.
tying his shoes. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
soldier pushes Yosh to make him fall on the side,
Oh.
to take him away from Yeshua, And so the crowd starts amassing around them, because, the crowd is always eager
Right.
for this kind of,
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
We want to be there.
Yeah. Rubbernecking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, Yeshua is begging Yosh to stand up and stop that. You understand that he could prosternate, but let's not do it in public, right? And Yosh is telling the crowd, who is starting to be mocking and having nasty comments. He tells the crowd, that young man knows the scripture better than any one of you guys.
Uh-oh.
And so at that point, you have some old Jewish guy who was, pointing their long nose and saying, oh, you know what? We want to hear that. Tell us.
Uh-oh.
And what happened at that point is Yeshua is basically stuck, right? He's caught and he has to do it. And he calls Elohim, his extraterrestrial friend. And he feels an energy coming into him. And he starts reading. He starts reading the words of the Leviticus,
Oh.
which is out of the Torah.
Right.
And he reads it perfectly without omitting a single word. Obviously, he has never learned the Leviticus, right?
Right. Do you know which passage or anything?
I don't know.
No?
I mean, you could probably know. I
That'd
don't
be
know
interesting
exactly.
to see. Yeah,
But
to read.
it's quite a long excerpt that he's giving, and the people around him, all the crowd, are really impressed, and they are so impressed that they all scatter away. They all leave. They cannot believe it.
He left them speechless.
So finally, Yosh stands up, and I guess he made his point, right?
Right.
he proved his point. But Yeshua regrets speaking these words, Well, he has mixed feelings. He's very proud that he could do it, but he's also very sad because those words for him are hollow. They don't mean anything.
Right.
They're empty. Yeah. They're scriptures of a
Right.
very old religion which has come to an end.
Right.
And he's coming here to change it.
Well, he wants to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after all this little problem, Yosh is very happy to see Yeshua. He invites the parents and Yeshua to stay over, at his place, and they actually stay almost like a week to his place.
Okay.
And they have during one of the dinner, Yosh tell them about one of his recurrent dream. He has had a recurring dream, and he said, Yeshua, I see you speaking to the people in Jerusalem, and then I see very high, very tall mountains covered with snow, white. They don't even know that it is snow because they have never seen snow. Right?
Oh, okay, something that's
But
white.
they said, I
Especially
see
from the desert.
white mountains. See?
Interesting.
And he said,
yeah.
I have this recurring dream. I mean, it has been, plaguing me every night for months. And at one point, Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, says, you know what? I have had the same dream too.
Oh.
I see my son speaking to people, and then I see him leaving in the direction of those white mountains.
Well, that's good.
And
Both of them.
Yeshua doesn't want to say anything.
Because he's been having them too.
He has having the same dream, yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So it takes them a few days to decide, and Uncle Yusuf also is consulted because he was gone during that time, to do all his business transactions in Jerusalem. And they all agree, the whole family agrees that Yeshua will live with Yosh in the direction of the White Mountains.
Oh.
And Uncle Yusuf, with his money and his wealth, will finance the journey, will finance the trip, and will find a caravan to take them to the east.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. They definitely would need that. That's a long way to walk.
That's a very long way, yeah.
How far away is that?
Oh, it's enormous. So we will be covering that in the next
Okay,
episode.
all right.
I mean, actually, the next episode will be about a very influential and important person, John the Baptist.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's where he comes in. Okay.
Well, it comes much earlier than what the Bible tells.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk about John the Baptist, and then probably in episode 9 where we'll talk about the long trip to the east and to the White Mountains.
Nice.
Yep.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and please like and subscribe, and we'll see you back again for episode 8.
Goodbye, everybody.